Get the Friendo Club set up today and get access to over 700 Going in Raw bonus episodes, our monthly Big Blue predictions challenges, and the ability to ask questions at Going in Raw. We also offer the Steven Larson comic book and exclusive Friendo Club t-shirt. Just hit join here at youtube.com/Steven Larson or go to patreon.com/Steven Larson to sign up. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
Welcome back to Going in Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast.
Hey, where's your hat? It's Christmas Day.
It's Christmas Day.
Anyways, welcome back to Going Raw. This is the Hot Takes episode where we asked friendos who signed up for the Friendo Club setup to send us their hot takes. And we got some great hot takes about 2024. Steve, you want to get after it?
Here we go.
That's an oven mitt.
It's
a
Christmassy hot pad.
What'd you put on a hot pad that you had on your desk?
I had some
scalding hot lasagna or something?
I like that. It's lasagna. It was either oatmeal or I don't know, one soup.
Do you let after you eat or cook your oatmeal, do you let it sit to rest 10 minutes?
I'm not a very patient person. So I put a lot of milk in it, but still it's way too hot usually. I'll put a thing of ice in there. I'll put a little ice cube in there. I'll stir that around, and I like to watch the ice melt.
I'm talking about meatloaf. You put ice in your meatloaf?
Oh, fuck. I swear to God, you just said oatmeal.
Oh,
meatloaf? Yeah, I let meatloaf sit. Yeah, sure.
All right, good. Maybe
Golly, I swear to God, I thought you said oatmeal.
Maybe I did. Crazy. I'm very tired right now. Anyways, let's get after these hot takes. NM here says...
Oh, these are hot takes for 2024, by the way.
Yeah, I said that while you're looking for your Santa hat and found hot pad. NM here says 2024 has been the greatest year for the entire industry since 1998.
Wow.
You know, I guess from WWE's perspective, it's probably the most revenue they've probably ever generated in a year, the way they keep talking about it.
Yeah, like in terms of like how much money they've made.
Yeah,
you know,
I think in terms of the buzz about the company is probably the most buzzworthy it's been since Attitude Era.
I would say it's most buzzy since... Okay, so like, wasn't the highest selling pay-per-view the Trump one?
Yeah.
I feel like it probably had more buzz back then, just because that was the highest selling pay-per-view. And it was still
what were the pay-per-view numbers like just preceding that one and after one? Was it strictly a bump because of Trump's involvement?
Yeah, I think so. What year was that? 2000 and...
That was after Stone Cold's heel turn. So numbers are already down from the Attitude Era peak.
Okay.
Was that 21 or 23? No, that was 23. I think it was 23.
23 was the Trump
22.
one? I think it was 23. I think you're right about that. Which one had Booker T and John Cena on?
Yeah, it was 23.
It was 23? The Trump one was 23?
Mm-hmm.
That early, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
It was Lashley versus Umaga.
Yeah.
Okay, look, from a financial standpoint, yeah, 1,000%. Absolutely. I guess my qualifier would be this. If you were to say 2000, what happened?
So I was looking at the buy rates for the pay-per-views right before and right after WrestleMania.
Did it have
23.
like a million fall off?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
So No Way Out, the pay-per-view before, got about 218,000 buys. Mania 23 was 1.2 plus million, and then Backlash went to 210 million or 210,000.
Oh my gosh! Wow,
yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
You know, dude, I'd probably say this. I'd probably say since 2002, because 2001 is when the company really took a dive because of the Austin heel turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, but 99 and 2000 was still really popular. Like there was probably a TV Guide cover or two out there, maybe an Entertainment Weekly, perhaps with some wrestling on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I know the total overall viewership was like way higher back then, like even in 2001. But it's like apples and oranges. Like it's just a different situation.
Can't measure.
You can't. You really. I mean, you go okay. Yeah. Well, they didn't have how many YouTube views they had back in 2001. Okay, well then if you can count all the TV viewers they had in 2001, you can take all the YouTube views that WWE has in 2024. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. As far as the entire industry, I mean, WCW at that point, wasn't as popular as it had been in 96, 97, but they were still generating, millions upon millions of viewers for Nitro.
99 is when it went really downhill.
Yeah, it went really downhill.
Yeah.
And and obviously revenues back then were nowhere near what they are now.
No,
not even close.
Wrestling programming was incredibly devalued back then.
But in terms of popularity, especially mainstream, like WCW, they weren't quite at the same level of WWF in terms of mainstream crossover, but they weren't that far behind.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas I feel like AEW has a long ways to go to catch up to WWE in terms of mainstream awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times when I'm at a thing and people ask, "Hey, what do you do?" and I tell them, and they're like, "Oh, the WWF stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah, WWE, but there's also a new promotion, AEW." Always have to explain what it is, with the assumption they just don't know, if they don't follow wrestling,
Yeah. Now, I was talking to somebody relatively recently, and again, it was the same thing. It was like, "Oh yeah, wrestling. Yeah, no, I used to watch all the time back in the day." It's like everybody says that. I used to watch back in the day. So I don't know. It depends on what your metric is. If it's financial, then it's not even a question. What about this one here? Zondo here, the next hot take, says the bar for wrestling shows is so high now that 2024 was the best year in wrestling and nobody really noticed.
If you're talking from a strictly in-ring perspective, yeah, absolutely. I think right now the quality of in-ring work is higher than it's ever been.
I agree with that. Yeah.
And it's not just one style.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to a lot of shows and get a variety of styles on that one show.
Yeah.
I think the last 4 or 5 years, I think year after year, it just keeps getting better and better and better in terms of the quality of the in-ring product. And I imagine it's only going to keep improving.
So like my only, I guess, I don't know how much we're nitpicking here, but I'm assuming, for example, okay, this is meant for fun conversation, right? In my opinion, the top 3 guys in the past 10 years in ring, Okada, Ospreay, Omega, right? And I don't even know if there's like a case for anybody else. Those 3 guys, I feel like wrestled more like last year or 2022 or maybe 2019. You know what I mean? Like maybe 2019, if Okada had like 3 times the number of matches that he had this year, and Omega had actual matches instead of what he had this year, which is like basically none, and Ospreay was wrestling a lot more, I feel like sometime in the past 5 years, we had the best year in wrestling. Yeah. I don't know that it was 2024.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's necessarily 2024. If talking strictly in-ring perspective. But yeah, the last 4 or 5 years, I think so, yeah.
For sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Because those guys were wrestling a lot more.
Well, then you had
But that
Danielson,
being said, everybody else has gotten better, though.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is across the board, the level of talent is so much better than it was across the board.
I mean, dude, how many times have we reacted to a Meltzer rating and been like, really? You only gave it 4 1/4? You know what I mean? Like, because things are so good.
I have all the matches that Dave has given 5 stars in front of me. So in the 80s, he only gave 5 stars to 24 matches. The entire decade.
That many? Oh, a bunch in Japan, huh?
There's a lot of all Japan.
Oh, speaking of which, hold on a second. Just back up real quick. If we're going back in time, you see the trailer for that Mildred Burke movie?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Holy shit.
Looks good.
It looks so fucking good. Yeah. This is like what I was hoping to get at. Because, like, I didn't really care for the Von Erich movie.
Yeah. I was kind of lukewarm on it, too.
But this is like subject matter that I'm like really interested in because I don't know shit about it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how historically accurate it's going to be, but this looks fucking good, man. Yeah. Sorry.
So 24 5-star matches in the 80s, about 60 in the 90s.
Okay.
64.
Okay.
And then the 2000s, that's interesting. In the 2000s, there's only 7.
Trash wrestling, man. Trash wrestling.
And in the 2010s, it goes
skyrocketed.
To 57.
Not as many as the 90s?
Sorry, 67. 67.
Okay.
So a couple more. And then in the 2020s, which is still ongoing, obviously, we're already 104.
Yeah, bro. Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'd be interested to break down from 2020, like when we came out of pandemic, like 2021 to 2024. It's going to be one of those 3 years, though.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to James says Nia Jax is the Women's Wrestler of the Year 2024.
This might make the thumbnail. I saw this and I was like, oh, shit.
So get people talking.
Yeah, man. Oh, boy.
Now, I've been appreciating a lot of what Nia has been doing since she's come back to WWE.
Absolutely.
I think her character work has been really strong.
Yeah.
I think she is more often than not put in positions that emphasize her strengths in the ring.
Yeah.
And like her in-ring character work has always been really good.
It's always
like her
been really
in-ring
fun,
shit
yeah.
talk is some of the best and has been for a long time.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun.
If I was making a list we have a list coming up of wrestlers who had the best 2024. I won't say for sure whether Nia is on it. My vote for the best women's wrestler of 2024 would be Toni Storm. That would be my pick. She did some fascinating character work. Her in-ring work has always been on point. When Toni Storm kind of messes with the idea of what a wrestling character can be, that's the stuff that really, really interests me. When you're doing stuff like just so different from what's been done historically, but it still really works within the context of what they're doing in AEW.
Yeah.
For me, it's Toni Storm. For me, that's a pretty easy choice.
Yeah, dude. I think I don't. Yeah. I don't think it's. I'm trying to think of somebody close. Like, I've always been a big Io Sky fan. This year, especially, and she does tremendous stuff.
Yeah,
just
she's
tremendous
fantastic.
stuff.
Yeah.
But in terms of, you're absolutely right. In terms of putting together the character, in terms of everything that's great about pro wrestling, Tony nailed it in 2024. Just fucking killed it in 2024. So yeah, my vote would go for Tony. If we're talking like, what woman had the best year in women's wrestling, and she'd be probably definitely top 5 overall.
Yeah.
Like it might be her and Drew,
Yeah.
in terms of like, it just had the best year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, they both had phenomenal years. But yeah, Nia's been doing incredible work 2024. Rhea Ripley, had she not been injured a couple times, who knows? She's fantastic. She had a great 2023. Probably Women's Wrestler of the Year in 2023 is probably Rhea Ripley.
Yeah, I agree.
You mentioned Io. Mariah May had a really good 2024 as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of 2024, Lord Blake Whitehouse here says the free agency war of 2024 was incredibly disappointing. It was a bit one-sided. WWE, given the buzz, given the popularity, given the turnaround creatively, I'm sure probably was seen by a lot of people as the place to be.
Mm-hmm.
And as so long as the money is, roughly the same, you're going to go to the place probably where you think is the place where the better opportunities exist for you.
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
If AEW hit in 2024, if in fact Tony Khan's tweet that AEW 2024 was going to be AEW 2021, who that re-signed with WWE would have gone to AEW? The problem is WWE super hot.
Yeah.
So why would anybody, even if AEW is super hot, why would anybody have changed? Like maybe a Chad Gable?
Maybe a Chad, maybe even a Sheamus, I think would be a stretch. He just seems like he's going to be in WWE for the rest of his career.
He does.
But if it was a situation with Sheamus, like existed with Edge, where they kind of went to him as like, hey, we'd love to keep you around, maybe, but we don't got a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe it's a situation like that where Sheamus would be like, all right, well, I'll go to AEW, because it does seem to a certain degree, WWE, we saw it with a few wrestlers this year, including Copeland, Bobby Lashley, that it seems like, all right, some of the wrestlers who've been around for a while, they're going to emphasize less and start emphasizing, potentially younger talent.
Mm-hmm,
At least that's kind of how we were trying to put it together, because
Yeah.
I don't know why you don't retain the services of Bobby Lashley if you can.
Yeah.
There's never been any official word on it, but it's based on our speculation. That's the best I can come up with.
Like Randy Orton re-signed this year. I think AJ might have, although AJ might have had time.
I think AJ's contract's up after. They'll probably add injury time because he's out with the Liz Frank injury, but.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't think there would have been much movement, but yeah, I feel you. It's like, I don't know. Like AEW had that big burst early with Ospreay, Okada, and Mercedes.
Yeah.
I thought that was a big thing for them.
Yeah.
WWE basically just sort of held on to.
Yeah, they more or less retained just about everybody that, save for a few names that were free agents. Obviously Ricochet and Lashley going over to AEW from WWE this year. MVP Shelton as well.
Lashley's still crazy to me. That's
I don't know how you don't make every effort to re-sign Bobby Lashley. I don't get.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's why I don't know how to make sense of it. That's why I was trying to find a pattern with Copeland, and there's that stretch where AJ wasn't really being used, and
oh, that's right, Copeland went there too.
Yeah. That's towards the end of last year, I think. But
okay, yeah. They're like, we don't have anything for you. That's crazy. Well, not with him, really. Anyways, let's move on to the next hot take here from Gorilla Mon. Gorilla Mon says, a lot of WWE storylines have dragged or suffered in the second half of the year due to how they've been trying to stretch things out to either Netflix, Raw, or Mania. Larson, what did I text you yesterday during Raw last night?
I don't know. You texted me a lot of stuff.
I know, man.
Filler. You said Raw was filler till Netflix. And that's how SmackDown felt until when they were about to leave Fox to go to USA. It felt like SmackDown, maybe Raw at this point, has a case of what's known as senioritis when you're into your senior year in high school, and you're just looking to chill and cruise till graduation day.
That's the entirety of my calculus class, Larson.
You started your senioritis day one.
I did. Dude, here's the thing about WWE, though. They honestly have, under Triple H, have raised the bar to a certain degree where when they are phoning it in, it's pretty obvious. It's like, oh, man, we're getting a 15-minute really good Braun Breaker Ludwig match. They're phoning it in. You know what I mean? Like, it can't all be huge twists and turns. But it's like, so when it's not big, huge twists and turns, it kind of feels like, okay, but there's got to be just some straight up meat to it,
Yeah.
And that's what Raw was. We're doing this a week early, so this is Raw's last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, there's been when they switch their programming to a different channel or now streaming service. Yeah, they go through a little bout of senioritis, and
They do.
In between big events, they tend to have some lull periods, and then they ramp it back up for the big event.
Yeah. Also, we don't know how much injuries played in changing his storylines.
Like AJ
Punk was out for 6 months.
Yeah.
Rhea missed a lot of time. Some major stars missed significant amounts of time due to injury or whatever, and we don't know how that alters creative plans.
Yeah.
For all we know, Rhea and Liv were supposed to have their blow-off before Survivor Series had Rhea not gotten hurt. We don't know.
Yeah.
So that I'm sure that altered some of their creative plans. But also, whenever they're going from one network to the other, it seems, all right, we got to, kind of put some stuff out there because we got to save the major storylines for when we launch on the new platform.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which, I get it. They want to make a huge splash when they move Raw to Netflix.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Makes all the sense in the world. James Bell, the hot take, says Swerve Strickland losing to Daniel Bryan at All In. Daniel Bryan, this fool, misnaming him. Bryan Danielson at All In was a terrible booking decision. It has created a domino effect of terrible booking for Tony Khan, and we are seeing one of the worst storylines of 2024 with Mox and the Death Riders. Hence, one of the reasons the viewership has continued to drop.
So I don't disagree with the idea that Swerve should have retained it all in. Imagine if the Swerve Lashley story was for the AEW title. That's your A story.
Yeah.
Now, you could still have Mox be the one to retire Danielson. You could still have this Death Rider story. And maybe, I guess if the whole idea, the whole premise of this is Mox is champion, therefore he wields a certain amount of power within AEW because he is champion, all right. But he's also Mox. I don't necessarily know if a title needs to be involved. If his idea is, I want to shock the mid-card wrestlers. I want to traumatize them by annihilating Danielson so bad that it lights a fire under them to achieve more.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily know if he needs to be champion to achieve that. Now, if this is like the B or C story with the Death Riders, all right. Give me Swerve feuding with Lashley as the A story. I don't really find Mox, historically speaking, and in 2024, that interesting of a character.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of comes out and says the same stuff over and over. His segments and the Death Rider segments play out pretty formulaic, where they just beat a bunch of people up. And I don't feel like there's a ton of character development within the Death Riders. There's not a lot of expansion of the story that's supposed to be this huge monumental thing. So, of course, hindsight 2020 and all, but personally, yeah, keep the title on Swerve. Keep the title on Swerve.
The reason viewership has declined is because nothing they're doing is all that compelling. The Death Rider story is fine. You and I, we criticize it because it's our job to do, and you and I understand that there could be there should have been some different things done along the way that could have made it compelling. But beyond like Tony Storm to a degree, but even like one character in a vacuum really is not, it does not create compelling television. It's just, oh, cool, Tony Storm's on my screen. I'm happy now. It's never really what's going to happen next. There are some compelling characters there. There are almost no compelling stories there that make you want to know what the hell's going to happen next. That's what we should be concerned about, is give us some television that is going to make us fiend for that next episode. Nitro and Raw back in the day were so good, especially Nitro with those damn cliffhangers of theirs.
Yeah.
Larson, they were so damn good at making us want, oh God, what's going to happen now on Thunder? And then they would never really resolve what had happened in the cliffhanger. And so there's just, when you turn on in 2024 or back in 2023, we're getting a Bloodline segment. What's going to happen this week? AEW does not have that. They do not have that storytelling ability. Nothing else matters. People can pick at AEW all they want and say it's failing this, it's failing that. They are not able to make people ask the question, what's going to happen next? I want to know what's going to happen next. And until they get that level of storytelling figured out, they will continue to lose viewers. That being said, they've got the recipe. Or I'm sorry, they've got the ingredients.
They do.
They've got tremendous talent. They've got some of the best wrestling you can find.
And we've seen them do it before.
Yeah.
They've done it before.
The Hangman Kenny stuff was that. It was that.
Yep.
Oh, shit, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
When you remember the reaction that you, me, and the Enforcer had when Kenny won at Winter is Coming, and Callis said, find out on Impact? Oh, fuck, I want Impact to be here now.
Yeah. Yep.
And they don't know how to do that anymore.
No. Nope.
So, what's the question here? Yeah, Swerve Strickland. If it was me, same as you. If it was me, Strickland wins. Him and Lashley have this thing over the title. And maybe you build the Mox stuff up to the point where, oh, he's laid out a bunch of other people. Now he's coming for Strickland. Because Mox versus Strickland, oh, shit. That's cool.
If the story is, hey, mid-card wrestlers, I'm going to show you how it's done. You have him retire Danielson the same way. You have Darby and Garcia and Private Party, everybody ringside, just like horrified, witnessing what's happening. And then Mox says, "That's how you do it. I'm going to keep doing it this way until I'm champion."
Mm-hmm.
And you build and build and build and build and build to that moment. And then you involve, you have your champion, you have Swerve involved in, at that point, what will be the A story once it gets to that point, which is you should have all, your top performers involved in your top story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess I read somewhere that Darby enlisted Osprey to get involved. This is probably really old news by the time it gets up. Darby enlisted Osprey to help him with the Death Riders. I read that happened on Collision.
Okay, yeah.
So maybe they're getting to the point where we've been asking, expand the scope. Make this seem like the fate of AEW is on the line. The future of the company is on the line, because from the very beginning, although Mox has talked about it, hasn't felt that way as a viewer.
Yeah.
And that needs to be the case.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I just think that
overall philosophy, yes. But I think if you have a story with that level of stakes and a decent scope, you would hope the odds would be improved that you would give us, as a Tony Khan would give us more moments where you end the show thinking, oh gosh, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
Especially if you have people joining Death Riders because they think this is I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, dude, like I said, the ingredients are there. It's like, there's just, it's that inability to tell compelling weekly television, because there's a thing you can do where people are like, oh shit, what's going to happen next?
Yep. John O'Davies here says, Hangman Page has been the most compelling character this year from either promotion.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look exactly what happened in 2024 versus 2023 with him, but I don't particularly disagree with this. I think that like him, Drew McIntyre, Tony Storm, I feel like Swerve probably had a better 2023 than 2024 in terms of his character, because when you're on that ascent, versus like he had that weird, like all you people are great promo. And it's like, come on, man, you're not a good guy. What are you doing right now? Yeah. But yeah, I feel like those names, and Hangman's terrific. He's really terrific.
Yeah. The evolution of his character, while it's all motivated by the same through line, has been fantastic.
It has been. Yeah.
It's fantastic. Yeah. And if it ever happens, a moment where he was able to overcome his insecurities, and if they play that right in terms of how it's portrayed on screen, it's
gonna be good.
It's gonna be fantastic. Ty Moore here says AEW's decision to do a pay-per-view every month is hurting them. It's causing them to rush storylines and pad out the cards, and is affecting the weekly product more. Also, when they did 4 pay-per-views a year, each show felt special, whereas now they don't.
I couldn't disagree more with this. I disagree. I'll just say that. I disagree.
All right.
I don't think it has anything to do with the number of pay-per-views they do. I don't think that, because they had those special themed Dynamites, like Winter is Coming back then, felt like a pay-per-view, and they would build it to like be a pay-per-view. And so you still had roughly 8, maybe 9 big events, including pay-per-views and big themed Dynamites throughout the year. I do think that Dynamites felt more special, and it sort of goes hand in hand, but Dynamites felt more special when there wasn't a Rampage or a Collision, because you jam pack everything into that 2 hours. So it's like, you want to know what's happening, you got to watch this. You don't watch, when you dump a 5-minute segment, that means that's a big story beat on Collision. Like you're talking about Darby and Will Ospreay. When you put that on Collision and you sort of surround it with a bunch of other matches that are kind of like, I don't really need to be here for this, then that lessens the impact of that moment. So less programming, I agree with, but I think it has more to do with the weekly television and less to do with monthly pay-per-views.
I mean, I guess, isn't it all kind of, it's oversaturation of product, whether it's too much television hours on cable television or on pay-per-view, in terms of constructing their stories, I could see if you have 2 hours of weekly TV plus quarterly pay-per-views, in theory, that's less to manage, and therefore you could focus on making sure everything's as good as it possibly can be. Whereas if you have 4 to 5 hours of weekly TV plus 10 pay-per-views a year, the mindset could be, I just got to get through all this.
Yeah. Yeah, but here's the thing. Like, all hours are not created equal. Like, pay-per-view hours.
Oh, no, I know. But, you have to fill... Before it was, you got 2 hours, that's 104 hours plus... You had about 120 hours of product you had to fill between Dynamite and pay-per-views.
Mm-hmm.
Roughly.
Yeah.
Now that's more than doubled.
We're diving into some Steiner math now.
I know. It's more than doubled now.
133 hours of, out of 122 hours.
And, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's from a bandwidth. We say all the time that's Tony Khan's probably primary issue is lack of bandwidth to handle all his responsibilities. And you add a lot more product on top of all that.
It does.
It could literally be a situation. I just got to get through this.
I think it is. I just feel like that probably, and again, I'm not there. You're not there. We don't know.
Obviously. Yeah.
So I'm talking about my ass, right? I'm talking out my ass. I feel like when you're putting together, 2, 4, 5 hours of weekly television that are spaced out by like a day each or 2 days each or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you got all those pay-per-views. You're right. All those pay-per-views. Man, if you just had that one weekly television to deal with, and then you got 7 days until the next one, or 6 days until the next one, and then 6 days until the next one. It's like you could build those story beats to a pay-per-view as opposed to, goddamn, I got 3 episodes of TV, I got a book, and I got a pay-per-view at the end of 4 blocks of that. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I think we're taking different angles of the same argument. It's that there's possibly too much AEW product for Tony Khan to handle.
I agree. Yeah. I don't think that. I don't
whether it's a situation that they need to do fewer pay-per-views, fewer TV hours, if he's going to be the sole dude running it or have an oversight over it, or if he needs to hand off way more of the creative responsibilities to his creative staff and take a step back so they can manage that stuff more. Whatever the solution is, I think the root problem is just not a lack of bandwidth for Tony Khan to handle it all.
Yep.
Jose Ramos here says the Young Bucks being front and center most of the year is why AEW creative was so bad. They were only ever popular with the internet, and as soon as their shtick was brought to a wider audience, they were exposed. They performed their characters and wrestled well, but when the crux of your angle or character is a 1.5-year-old backstage fight where the instigator isn't even in your company anymore and your dialogue is chock full of chronically online jargon, well, you get 2024 Dynamites.
I don't know about the chronically online jargon dialogue stuff. I don't get that. Like, I don't think that's a problem. My perception of 2024 isn't that the Young Bucks were front and center. Like, I understand they did the Succession gimmick, but there was so much else that was going on that I don't really feel. I kind of feel like if anything, it's bizarre that they're EVPs, I think, still. And like, they haven't been seen on television for like a while. Like, it's weird to me that they're not more front and center, given that their name is in the company name.
Yeah.
Not that I'm complaining about that. I think that the Young Bucks have a distinct ceiling with what their characters can be. Not that they aren't entertaining from time to time, but there's kind of a limit in terms of like what they can do. But I think that airing regardless of what it might have done for Jack Perry, I don't think that was worth airing the CM Punk footage. I thought that was embarrassing for the company. I thought that was horribly embarrassing for the company. Like, in retrospect, you think about that. Fucking really? The dude's not even in your company anymore? And like, you don't even present it in a way that's like relatively interesting or germane to the story. Like, that was a fucking stain on the company, I feel.
I mean, I think at a larger picture, the issue with the Young Bucks was less them being exposed in front of a television audience. It's just that they're their creative ideas, whether it was Tony Khan or whoever's fault, was half-baked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there wasn't an end point.
That's definitely true.
That's an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's more of a concept of a story than an actual story, and we see that play out. Where in a vacuum, there might be some interesting character dynamics between the Young Bucks and Jack Perry and Okada, and they might do some interesting work. But in terms of the stories being told and how that relates to the larger stories being told on Dynamite, there just wasn't a whole lot of there.
Yeah, sure.
It was every week, we're going to run Dynamite now, especially after they hit Tony Khan with the Meltzer driver, which seemingly was done just to get some buzz over the NFL draft weekend.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
it was a great moment, though. I thought that was a really good moment.
And if it played out in more interesting stories, it could have been really good.
But then it was like, oh, Kenny, he's going to be the vote for Tony Khan. And then Christopher Daniels had some nebulous role.
He's got Kenny Omega's proxy because Kenny's out.
Yeah, right.
I do think it's an issue where a lot of their motivation, both him and I think it's the same, expressed in a different way. Another issue with Chris Jericho's learning tree thing is that it's, to an extent, to various extents, rooted in the CM Punk stuff.
Yeah.
You got to move on past that.
Yeah, it's like sometimes it's just or like in Jericho stuff. It's funny because I still think that you and I kind of have a philosophical disagreement with like the root of the Jericho stuff. Like, I don't know how inspired it is by the CM Punk thing. You seem to think it is. And
I think a large part of, hey, young talent, come sit under my learning tree and learn from me.
You think that's
here's unsolicited advice for you. Yes, I think that's the genesis of that is maybe Jericho's perception of Punk backstage.
It could be. I still think it's wild that Jericho's learning tree, in my estimation, Jericho's learning tree is all just resentment to the crowd for.
But I think it's that too. I think it's both things. It's both things.
Yeah.
I think it's the roots, if you will, are the Punk stuff, and then he's just throwing whatever anger he's getting from the crowd back at the crowd.
That's wild to me.
I know.
It's like, you're right. It's like, get over it. Like, tell your fucking stories.
Yeah.
Why are you airing footage of CM Punk backstage? He's not with the company anymore. He hadn't been at that point for like 7 months.
There's no reason to show that. No.
That was nuts. That was absolutely nuts. That was
and
crazy.
I don't think it helps them. Like, I don't think the chronically online stuff is a huge issue, but I think sometimes when they reference things that unless you're like really tuned in, it goes over your head.
Yeah, sure.
And that loses people sometimes. And if people aren't unsure of what you're referring to at a certain point, they're like, well, there's a disconnect here. I'm not vibing with this. Why should I watch it?
Yeah.
And maybe it's only 15 people. I don't know.
Yeah, right.
But at a certain point, 15 people are really going to matter to AEW's viewership. So.
Oh my God, Larson.
So maybe don't try to turn them off.
We got to move on. That was too hot. Dude. Last one here. Oh boy, Hut Rod says not every premium live event needs a hot take. It's getting oversaturated with content creators doing the same.
What are they gonna do for content though?
What we can do for content?
What are we gonna do for content?
Hey, this is what you can do. Not watch it. It's that simple.
All right,
if you
new
have
show idea, Steve.
Yeah.
Tepid takes.
He's cutting a hot take on us.
Yeah, he is.
Because listen, we got our hot takes weekly here at Wrestle Juice. Every premium live event, I do my hot takes video. Plus, sometimes I do weekly hot take videos over there as well. Look, it's no different than if we did. It's just a gussied up version of like, hey, our audience, let us know what you think about stuff.
It's a
That's
college
all
show.
it is.
It's
What's
a
that?
college show.
It's a call-in show. You know, I'm sorry that content creators want to create content. Dude, this is neither here nor there, and we're poking fun at this particular hot take. But I've noticed on Blue Sky, there's been like a couple people that and they just show up my Discover feed. They're people with like not a lot of followers or whatever, but they complain about the ads on YouTube. And I'm like, get premium then. Back in the 80s, were you complaining about, I can't believe every 10 minutes they're cutting to a commercial break for 2 minutes during Archie Bunker or whatever?
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't the 80s. That was the 70s.
70s.
But you know what? I'm trying to watch
Yeah.
Cheers, and they keep on cutting to commercial breaks.
Yeah.
And then when it ends, they cut to another commercial break, and then that's when the new TV show starts.
Yep.
Well, how do you think we pay our bills? And then they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to go. I wish my ad blocker worked. Fuck you. It's stealing money from me. Block this, you piece of shit.
Oh, wow.
We're getting too hot here, man. We got to get out of here.
So.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate it. Hopefully you have today's Christmas Day.
Today's Christmas Day. I think.
Hey, I hope you guys got lots of good gifts from the Santa Claus and not a bunch of charcoal from that piece of shit who probably had. Santa Claus probably used the ad blocker, too. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Appreciate it. Till next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.